Hey everyone, Will Kern from Endless Events here, and sitting across from me is Guy Bigwood. Guy is a pro when it comes to sustainability events. He's been doing this for 20 years and is so amazing. I'm sure you've seen so much change in so many awesome things, and you were talking a little bit about how it's so exciting right now that the door to sustainability used to have a brick wall behind it, and now we're rushing right through. I think that's super duper exciting, and based on all the conversations we've been having, everyone's all about action. So I want to start talking with you because you've been doing this for so long. You've seen everything. How can people start to make action? But before we do that, you do a really, really cool thing called the Global Destination Sustainability Index.
Yeah.
Can you tell everyone a little bit about what that is?
Okay. So, about 8 years ago, I ran a workshop with MPI and ICA in Scandinavia. And we had all the Scandinavian Nordic countries, so Sweden, Denmark, etc. together. And we kind of started creating a vision for a sustainable meetings region. Okay, so we started working towards that. And then someone said, how do we know if we're there? It's like, good question. Really, what is sustainability and what's the kind of levels of it? So we created a system, a benchmark, and we launched that in Scandinavia, and it worked so well and created so much change and really accelerated progress that we said we're going to launch this. So in 2015, we launched it globally. So now it's a Global Destination Sustainability Index. And so today we have 60 cities from around the world. Wow. And that's from Washington, D.C. to Sydney, through to Kyoto, through to Barcelona. And what they do is they benchmark how well they're doing as a city, environmentally and socially, then as a meetings industry, and then as the destination marketing organization, or DMO, or the CBB, right? So you have 4 chunks, and that gives you a ranking and a performance grade, shall we say. And once you've got that, you can then get better. So we then give them advice and recommendations, and we work as a community to share information and knowledge and to drive change.
Very cool, very cool. What's been the biggest surprise or interesting thing that you've learned from collecting all this data? Has there been any surprises where you're like, whoa, I'd never thought about this, and it surprised you maybe?
I think one, I'm not sure surprised, but it reminded me the importance of collecting data. Having a data-driven program with 60 cities is invaluable. We see lots of other initiatives that tell us what everyone's thinking, but we've got the how and the data that backs up how to do it. So that's really interesting. Then the second thing is, if you look at some cities, and I use Bangkok as an example, not the most sustainable city in the world, a lot of social issues, environmental issues, but as an events industry, TSEB and Bangkok and the CVB there has done a remarkable job, and they're like world class in terms of engagement, training, certifications, education, social action. And so you don't have to be Portland or San Francisco to be the best at actually doing stuff and getting an action around events. And that for me is a key message, because everyone says, well, I'm not Copenhagen. It's like, you don't have to be.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Look at.
I think that's always very important to know, because a lot of times we feel like, our cities, we're not, tier 1 city. I'm not making that big of an effort, but every little bit counts, right?
Yeah, and especially for tier 2, tier 3 cities, they have an advantage. They're smaller. It's easier to mobilize the whole community. And that's really what we're about, is how do you take an ecosystem, which is a city, right? It's a living ecosystem. And with all the little parts of the organism, right? The agencies, the hotels, the venues, how do we get those all aligned and working together towards sustainability?
I love it.
And some cities, Portland has done a great job at that, but many are nowhere near. And that takes real leadership to do, and that's what we drive the destinations to do.
I love it. I like the outcome of there's still work to be done, because it means that there's still improvement to be done, but it's also frightening because there's obviously a ticking time clock that we have going on,
just
right?
a tad, eh?
just a little bit. Well, speaking of that ticking time clock, I think everyone's ready for action. So I want to dive into how people can start making a difference. What sort of things does our industry need to start doing right away, and the tactical advice that you have, because I know you're full of so much good stuff.
Yeah.
So what would be your first tip for what we can start doing now, as planners, destinations, maybe both, to start making a difference now?
Yeah. I like this kind of concept. It's time to become a zero naught. We've got astronauts, it's a zero naught. So let's go zero plastic, let's go zero waste, let's go zero carbon emissions, zero pesticides, things like that. So just start basic, get rid of all disposable single-use waste at your events, go through, audit where that comes in, get rid of the butter packs, get rid of the sugar, what can you do? How do you work with your suppliers to do that? So have a conversation, create your policy that explains the 5 things that you want to do. We want to go carbon neutral, we want to go waste zero. Send that to your suppliers and say, guys, how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that together? So from then, in your RFPs, in your contracts, in your weekly meetings, and you start working towards that. So, that's, I think, is the key thing, right? Commitment, sharing it, starting to work to it. And then you can start to break it up into different areas. I think you've already talked about the kind of EIC sustainability standards.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So that gives you a framework. There's already kind of 8, 10 areas there. So use those areas to break down your event into your chunks, your hotel, your venue, your AV production, etc. So take their areas. If you want to go really deep, use the standards. But if not, take bits of the standards. Go for the easy stuff. Low-hanging fruit to start with. So choose a sustainable venue. Choose a sustainable hotel. How do you do that? Ask for certifications. Yeah. Doesn't mean they're the best in the world, but it makes your life easy. So really go for certified suppliers. I'm a massive believer in that.
I love it. What out of the 5 areas, so we talked a little bit, I think people know, trying to go zero carbon, zero plastics. What's an area that you think that most people aren't thinking of that is something that we now need to start looking at, or something that's surprising?
I think the whole concept of circular economy is really where us as an industry, we have to generate and twist. We're one of the most wasteful industries in the world. So how do we stop that cycle? Well, not a cycle, it's a linear line. Today is, you extract, you use, you throw away. How do we go more to that circular cycle, the circular economy, where we take, we use, we recycle, we repurpose, we bring it back into the system, we remake. So there's a constant cycle. So if you think of nature, that's the way nature works, right? So nature, if I'm a tree, I grow, I die, I decompose, and when I decompose, I help to grow other trees, right? So how do we take that kind of natural cycle into this?
I know, it's fabric.
Yeah, it's
Isn't
fabric.
that?
It's fabric. But this is a type of a polyester, and polyester is made from oil. Okay, so it's extractive, right? Okay, so we've made that, but what can we do? How do we repurpose this?
Totally.
I think this my touch is feeling can be recycled,
Absolutely.
but not everyone knows how to recycle this, so you have to find out how to do that. So what's that circle? Absolutely. But often in kind of recycling of stuff like this is degraded every time you recycle, so it loses its value. So good thinking, you have to keep the value. So good example, Adidas, right? Fantastic new shoes they brought out. Absolutely. They collect ocean waste, they respin the ocean waste, and then they separate the polymers, and then they use that to make the fabric that makes the weaving on the new training shoe. And that can be recycled.
I love it.
So in our industry, there's loads of great work on carpet being done.
Absolutely.
Carpet, look how much carpet we've got here.
So much carpet.
They save it and they reuse it, so it's a good job, and I'm not sure if this is made from recycled materials, but you can make carpet from recycled materials. You can repurpose it and then recycle it, right? But also, is this the best way of doing things? Let's rethink, right? Perhaps it's better to use carpet tiles, where you just, because there's going to be more footfall on that area there than here, so let's just change the carpet there. So what are some of the ways just to kind of disrupt and break the model?
I like it. I think you also bring up a good point, too, about not always knowing how to recycle something. But I think far too often we think about recycling, we think about like, I have to know where I'm going to take it to be recycled and then brought down the line. But also think about how you can recycle it year to year. Yeah. So, for example, what's great about, date like signage stuff is far too often we put dates on things. So frustrating, right? Like now it's only going to be used for 1 year, but
exactly. Normally you put MPI IMEX 2020 or whatever it is.
Exactly. Now it's only used once, but this, for example, this can be used at World Education Congress. It can
Totally.
be used at, a small regional conference. It can be used over and over again.
So that's the kind of the rethink, which is a key part of a circular economy methodology. So
I love it. I love it. What other sort of tips do you have for everybody that you think that they can start implementing today?
What else? I think you got to work with food. Food is such a powerful way to touch people.
Definitely.
Right?
Let's tell us about food. What sort of
So
ways
I
can we
think,
implement that?
I've used a simple methodology for quite a few years, and I still think it works today, which is floss. Yeah.
Ooh,
So we kind of
okay.
tweaked it a little bit. So fair, local, organic, seasonal, and we changed the last one is smart. So,
okay.
you got to think about who's making the food, where it's come from. Is that a kind of fair product line? Local, obviously, you want local stuff, but local used to be just about having local food. It's gone to the next step now. Is how do we help accelerate a kind of local food revolution, right? How do we bring back all of those hidden recipes, from the grandmothers that have got lost? Or the products. Look at the States. 80% of all the potatoes in the States are a russet. Okay? That's an evil thing. The amount of chemicals sprayed on a russet is disgusting. There's thousands of other varieties of potato. Let's bring them back. Let's discover those lost ones. Let's get the chefs of the hotels working with local farmers to replant, because then you've got a unique offering, something that's different, it's fun, it's sexy. Right, so let's bring that into the food and really create those local connections, because that creates unique. So that's that. Organics, again, it's what we said before. It's not about perfection; it's about progress. So how can we bit by bit increase the percentage of organics? It's about kind of sustainable food, sustainable fish. It's about getting rid of or lowering the amount of meat you serve, isn't it? We see the the Beyond Burger popping up everywhere. So let's think of that. And then lastly, it's smart. Let's really think about food that stimulates brain activity. If we have that big pasta carbonara after lunch, we want to sleep. Our blood sugars go out the roof. So how do we then really think about avocados and nuts and light oils that stimulate brain activity?
Love it. Oh my gosh, this is so good. I feel like I could keep talking about this forever. Anything else that other than food maybe that you think that everyone needs to know about when it comes to sustainability?
Yeah, I want to come back to the challenge. We have to make our industry carbon neutral by 2050. That's the goal. That's the challenge. Right? We've got to do that. That kind of means by 2030 it has to be about 50% reduction. 11 years away. We got to do a lot of action. We got to really speed up, scale up, and step up to the challenge. Okay, and that means we need to rethink our business models, but also it means we need a lot of meetings to bring a lot of people from other industries together, because they got to do the same. So, yes, we need to be much more conscious how we fly, where we fly, how we meet, the success of meetings. And we've got to do that really well. We've got to get so much better in the creativity, the strategy, the production events to optimize them and make them deliver results. So,
I love it. Guy, that's seriously so amazing. So many learnings. Literally, I could be here for hours talking to you about this sort of thing, but we're definitely linked to some resources below. You want to let everyone know kind of where they can find you and where they can learn a little bit more about what you've been talking about?
Yeah, so you can have a look on GDS-index.com. It's a program talked about before with all these destinations, but we've got a lot of knowledge on there, a lot of great best practices from the world and the industry. So yeah,
I love it. And obviously everyone can always check out the courses that MPI's put on. Some of the talks that you've been giving here at Smart Monday have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Definitely come check out all the content. Let's start making some action and start getting some things done.
Well, as my superhero friend says, Elvis, he says, little less conversation, little more action, please.
I love it. We'll leave it right there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, Guy, again, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Great. Cheers.